So what I wanted to start with, and I'm going to keep an eye on time, and I also may do some on-the-fly changing up because I didn't realize that there were so many pre-GED, so I've really got to think about how to scaffold. So at any rate, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on situating adult literacy because I know you all are here for the academic writing part, but I do think it's important to, in order to really understand how in the world did we get to a world of GED 2014 where students are asked to do academic writing for college and all of that, how did we get there? And the biggest thing for me for graduate school and why I wanted to go there is that realization that nothing is new, that people have been thinking of ideas. Everything's kind of been tried one way or the other. And in some ways it's a little sad because you want to be the one with the most brilliant idea and you can do this. But in another way, I find it very encouraging and kind of spiritual or wonderful in that we're part of a greater whole, that we're part of a greater whole within the adult literacy field that has actually, adult literacy started in the US before public schooling. So trying to figure out, okay, so we're part of that. A lot of these discussions in terms of academic writing, in terms of grammar-based, skills-based versus ideas-based, were talked about in the 70s, 60s and 70s with the Open University movement in New York and all around. So these are conversations that have happened before. So I just want to touch base and get so that we're all historically situated. So now we can, again, we don't have to start from scratch. We can look to see what other people have done and what other conversations have happened, and then we can also join the conversation. Okay, so it's not the idea to have this a history lesson, but it's just to get us to start thinking about how in the world did we get to where we are right now. So what I did is I think most of you, or if you don't, you should have this little chart historicizing, historically situating. Does anyone not have it? Let me see if I'm tied to this. I don't know how well. Nope. Oh, excuse me. Here you go. Okay. Anyone else need one? No? Okay. So here's just quick I just found some pictures on the web to just give you a sense of when. So here's adult literacy in 1912 in Kentucky, and we'll go over that. Here, adult education class for working women, about 1926. Again, another one in New York City, about 1940. In New York City again, about 1959. And about 2000. And now 2014. Okay, so just these basic questions, but what do you see as the most basic difference here in terms of literacy and how literacy is defined from the 1912s? Oh, shoot, sorry. From 1912 to 2014. I mean, these are basic questions, but they're technology, okay, right? So technology. So if you look at kind of what literacy was here, right, in 1912, really being able to write your name, to write, basic stuff. 2014, literacy is defined as, wow, it's, technology, being able to use technology, being able to write argumentative essays. So it's, in almost just 100 years. How literacy is defined has been a huge thing. And so as a field, we need to try to figure out how do we keep on top of that, especially when there's so many different levels of academic literacy of students within our programs. Okay, so in order to just get us, right, that went? Okay, thinking about it. So everyone has this, yes? Okay, so I'm not gonna spend that much time on it, but just to let you see how, so in the dates, if you look at 1600s, right? Here, oh, it's right here. Okay, so the broad historical events, right? It's tons and tons of stuff. And and I'm not a historian at all. So if anyone's really interested, go please and do the research and double check and all that stuff. I just did a very cursory thing. But if you look at the 1600, colonization, puritanical influence, and that what was an educational philosophy, and that literacy, the main purpose for literacy was really to allow individuals to read the Bible and to encourage morality. So that was why it was important to develop literacy so you could read the Bible. Public schooling in the 1600s, there were no organized schools, and it was really the families who were responsible for children's literacy development. And then in adult literacy programs, you think of apprenticeships and commercial schools, right? Those were kind of the first adult literacy programs, right? So it's predated public schooling. 1700s, just little things like the Enlightenment, American Revolution, Declaration of Independence, these huge things. literacy then became that literate citizens can contribute new ideas about how to govern themselves. And really thinking about literacy towards becoming a democratic society. In public schooling, large towns could have large towns had a teacher of reading and writing. Very large towns were able to have a grammar school. And the interesting thing about adult literacy is that when public schooling came, public schooling for the daytime was for children. For the nighttime, it was for adults and for working children as well. So again, adult literacy has been around. This is not some brand new thing that we just started because there's a crisis in the education system. And I think that is always an important thing to think about in terms of policy and thinking about curriculum and all of that. And then also we see here that with the Valley Forge School for Revolutionary Soldiers, literacy was really tied to the military, and especially within the GED and adult literacy. That tie to military is right there, and about economic security and all of that is right there, as opposed to the Freirean approach of critical literacy and ideas and all of that, and so those opposing paradigms. So you can read this stuff on your own, just to give you an idea, though, of 1900s to 1949, trying to think anything great there. Brown versus Board of Education.
Of the GED.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yes, so that was probably an important thing. Yeah.
So 1942.
That's does anyone know the history of the GED? How it got started? Or someone wanted to share real quick. Go for it.
It started out as a test for the people coming out of World War II, I guess it was.
Right.
So have them benefit from the GI Bill.
Okay. Oh.
Could you just?
Oh.
I'm sorry. Could you
want
just?
to repeat that?
The GED was developed for returning soldiers.
Right.
And after World War II, so they could benefit from the GI Bill and get college education.
Okay, exactly. Okay, so again, the GEDs, 1942, was specifically tied to the military, and I think that's an interesting thing to keep in mind for where we are right now, less than 100 years later with it. And then what else do we do? Let's see. In the 1966 was the passage of the Federal Adult Education Act. In 1960, I think it's interesting is that the high school dropout term was coined. There really was not that idea of what a high school dropout was before the 1960s. So again, that's interesting in terms of GED and why we think this is this huge problem. Hasn't been around that long. And let's see, other things. Okay, 1970s, 1980s, I guess the biggest thing here. 1970, Apple Computer introduces the personal computers. 1980s, IBM introduces the first personal computer. And 1990s, a whole bunch of stuff in the 1990s, as y'all know. In 1998 was Google incorporated. What else do I have there? Okay, so giving that, and you can look at that, what I want you all to do is work in tables or work in pairs or something, whatever you feel comfortable with, or work on your own, whatever I always liked working on my own and then working as a group, but whatever you feel comfortable doing. Try to just put in, again, we're just going to take about 5 minutes or so for you all to think about this, but I just want you thinking about what you know about the adult literacy field in particular in the last 14 years. And then think about together, we can talk through historical events and educational philosophies and all of that, okay? So I guess basically you can just kind of start with start here in 2002 maybe, and think about what happened in adult literacy there, and then adult to 2014. So you should know 2002 and 2014 in adult literacy fields, and then think about other things that may have happened, okay? So please just, work together or work on your own.